Hello there, welcome back to Planet Zoo, and today we are starting a new zoo, another new zoo. I love starting new zoos. I just keep coming up with new ideas of things that I want to try out. So yeah, this is Lunar Zoo. Don't ask me where I got the name from this time, it just popped into my head. There's not always a logical explanation as to why things pop into my head, they just do. So this zoo, I've decided, is going to be focused on two things that I want to improve. One is buildings, because they're obviously a major part of all zoos, in real life and in the game, and it's something that I'm not particularly good at building in the game yet. So I want to really work on my building of buildings. And the other thing is foliage, which is something that I am fairly good at, I think, in the game. I think I'm pretty good in real life as well. Being a gardener, I should be pretty good with it. So I want to really work on trying to use foliage in better ways, more interesting ways, trying to create new things with foliage, and hopefully combining the two things as well, using more foliage in buildings. So yeah, so that's kind of my thinking with this zoo. So I want this zoo to feel fairly I don't want to say squashed, that's not what I mean. What do I mean? Hang on, let me think. I want there to be a lot of buildings, basically. So pretty much every habitat will involve a building of some sort. Whether that means that there's actually the entire habitat inside a building, that might happen, or it will happen. But also just having more structures within each habitat. And that will often mean combining buildings as well. That's something I want to do more, linking buildings together. So as you can see, I've already started on my entrance building here. So for example, there might be another building connected to it off the side somewhere, and then off of that one there might be another one connected, and there might still be tunnels where you can go in between, but they'll be connected. So obviously not everything is going to be connected, but it's something that I want to do more of, and it's kind of a challenge for me to try and be creative with the buildings, come up with new looks for them and ways to integrate them all together as well. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. We shall have to see where it leads me. So there we go. So anyway, let me just show you what I've done already. So this is the entrance. So obviously I'm keeping this pre-built bit here, and you come in, and I wanted sort of a ticket booth on each side. So that was pretty straightforward. The roof is a little bit different to what I've done before. Usually I would put an upwards slope all the way up to a point, but I thought it might look quite nice to actually have the downwards dip, and because of that I've actually put this sort of custom drainage in the middle here as well, because it looked a bit silly without it. So that's the kind of detail level that I will go to here. I'm not going to be putting gutters on all the buildings, that sort of thing. That's a bit too much detail for what I want to do in this zoo. But where it makes sense, I will do small details like this. And then I wanted to create some sort of an archway here. So these pieces are fantastic. These are, what are they actually called? New World Arch Leaves Metal. Yeah. I'm sure they could have come up with a better name than that, but they're really, really good pieces. They can be used in many different ways, and they make a good tunnel when you put them together like that. So that's what I've done there. And flower beds, because there's going to be a lot of flowers in this park. That's what I've decided. Lots of custom flower beds, lots of custom walls, things like that I want to do. So here I've just created these flower beds using, I think, beams and planks. So I've got beams on the top, yeah, and then planks, East Asia water wheel planks at the bottom. I just wanted that slight contrast in the two colours and textures. And again, that's the kind of level of detail that I want to go to. Excuse me. In the past, when I've done custom beds, I probably would have just done the whole thing with one material. But I really want to work on just mixing things up like that and I think it just creates an extra layer of colour and texture and detail that is noticeable. I think once you play this game a bit, you do start noticing that sort of thing, whether it's on your own builds or if you're looking at someone else's, obviously, as you are doing as a viewer. Hopefully you're looking at my builds thinking, oh, I like what he's done there, you know, with the simple things like that, using 2 different materials in one flower bed, and you'll notice the difference. It kind of makes it just pop out a little bit more than if I just used the one. So that's where we are now. So my plan here, certainly in this first episode, is to get this building done. Down each side here, I want to create a small sort of garden area on each side. So there's going to be no pathways or anything coming out of here, because obviously you have to go through the ticket booth. But I'll probably do some hedging, I think, down the side. I've got a bit of an idea of excuse me, what I want to do with that. And then there'll be some trees and some shrubs creating a sort of an edge here again, just so that nobody could nip off the pathway and disappear into the park. Some sort of sign, not too sure how I'm going to do a sign. I think maybe up on the roof there might look a bit over the top, so possibly something to each side of the pathway here, not too sure. And then the flower beds will obviously be decorated with flowers, and I'll do some detailing in here underneath around the ticket entrance here, and probably just a little bit more detail at the back here. I'm thinking I might actually have another one of these tunnels repeated on the back side of the building here. And then, yeah, then we'll move into the park and see what our first animal is going to be. But this first episode is just going to be this this entranceway here. So let me crack on. Hopefully you get a bit of an idea now of what I'm aiming for in this zoo. Some of my other zoos are going to be continuing. So don't worry if you've been following my other zoos. They're not necessarily all going to continue. I think my very first zoo probably isn't. Green Valley Zoo was my first zoo, and I think since I've started doing these videos regularly and playing this game a lot, my building has improved substantially, as you would expect when you play a game a lot. You get better at it. So I think now if I actually went back and looked at Green Valley Zoo, I would probably be quite appalled by the quality of my building. So yeah, so not necessarily all of my older zoos are going to continue to a finale, but I'm always coming up with new ideas, so there'll always be something to watch and hopefully inspire as well. So anyway, let me crack on with a bit more building in this new zoo and see what I can come up with next. Right, so I've done my work around the edge here. I wanted to get the structure in place, so that's what I've done at the back here. So what I've attempted to do is to keep the palette fairly small. So what I mean by that is you don't use too many different shrubs, for example in this case, because you're creating a shrubbery, and it's the same in a flower bed as well. If you have 3 types of flowers in a flower bed, maybe 4, maybe even 5, and then repeat them over and over again into a large space, it looks a lot better than if you have a large space filled with 20 different flowers, because that can look a bit too random and wild and jumbled. And it's the same with the shrubbery here. I mean, even this has possibly got too many. I've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so there's 6 different types of shrubs there, and I think it looks good. It does what I want. You've got the smaller ones at the front getting larger at the back, which is a pretty basic principle of any sort of garden work. Whereas if I could easily chuck more different shrubs in and it would start to look too messy. I think as it is there, I think that looks pretty good. There's nothing too bright in here, so all the colour palette is fairly similar. And then you've just got the odd hydrangea giving you that little burst of colour, and this one as well. I always forget what this one is. Creosote bush, yeah. Again, just that little sprinkling of yellow there. And then behind that, A simple array of trees. Again here, just keeping it random, no sort of symmetry or anything like that. I have purposely made it a bit lower at this end, getting a bit taller towards this end, because it's going from outside of the park to inside of the park. I thought that it kind of works. I don't know. I just did it. Obviously, I've done this side as well. Although on this on this side I didn't do that principle. I just felt like I wanted this tall one at this end. I think originally when I did this side, this one here wasn't there, and it was just this, and then I just felt like there was too much of a gap, so I put this tall one in here. But that was my principle on this side, was just to slowly ease the height from right to left. Yeah, you know, I think it looks good. But the actual array of trees that I've used as well, there's 3 or 4, I think. What's this one? Oh yes, because you've got a common ash tree in there as well. So yeah, so you've got a couple of ash, and you've got a couple of different colours. So you've got a nice green conifer, you've got a yellow conifer, and then you've got these lovely big ghost gum trees, is that right? Yeah, ghost gum trees. I love these things. They look absolutely amazing. The colour is fantastic on them. So there's no sense of sort of realism when it comes to the foliage that I'm going to be using in this zoo. So it's not meant to be set in a particular part of the world. So I'm just going to be using any foliage that I think looks good. I don't want to limit myself to just using certain climates or certain continents of shrubs and things. I just want to be able to use whatever I think looks nice. So that's what I've done. So that just creates that slight barrier on both sides. Obviously I've still got some gardening work to do in front. I've also just built a small bit of framework here. Got these new mesh pieces that we got in one of the last expansions. So I've just created a simple framework around the edge on both sides of this building here, and then put the wisteria growing around it with a couple of downwards pieces at the side here and at the front to show that it's growing up out of the ground and around the corner. And I really like that. I think it just finishes off this blank bit of wall. You know, I didn't want to just decorate this wall. I wanted it to kind of disappear behind this. It creates a nice sort of bit more 3D-ness to it. You've got this sort of gap on both sides as well, so it's just going to be this sort of tantalizing look into the park, I guess, where you might see something beyond that grabs your eye. But there is going to be fencing down here, so people obviously wouldn't just run over and disappear through there. Not sure what's going to be the other side anyway. There might well be more buildings or something. I really don't know. We shall see. But yeah, I think let's just zoom out and see what that looks like. Yeah, I think as an entrance, I think that's starting to take shape really nicely now. And I'm having a lot of fun actually with this foliage. I think I'm going to enjoy creating these nice shrubberies throughout the park, because I think that just blends together really nicely, doesn't it, with the trees at the back and then the shrubs at the front. And then if you wanted to, you could dot some flowers around the front as well, or some ground cover plants like the scabiola bush, or the what's the other one called, the ash something, I always forget it. Where is it? This one here, the arrowwood bush. Oh, hang on, I can't talk. Arrowwood bush will look good. Again, if you've got one of these big pieces, you can kind of sink some of that in around the front. Yeah, it might look good, don't know, but I didn't want to. I've got a few ideas of what I'm going to put in this gap here. So that's going to be next, and obviously I've still got these flower beds and all the decorating on the building, and I've got to decide what I'm doing at the back here as well. So let me go and crack on with a bit more. Okay, here we are then. Luna Zoo is starting to take shape. So I've done quite a lot of work out the front here. First and foremost, the signs. I decided to use these nice upright ones that I've just recoloured. Usually they're sort of an orange and yellow colour, but I thought green suited the theme of the zoo a bit more. So I just created a simple flower bed around the bottom with rocks, a few rocks in the middle, some soil, and then these lovely little purple plants. Pink, I suppose they are, around them, which I thought looked good. And then it's on On this side you have Welcome to, and on this side Lunar Zoo. So yeah, I thought that looked pretty cool. Very happy with them. And I didn't want to overpopulate this area here, so I've just gone with these simple ferns, the tree ferns here, in a pile of rocks, again with some of these little flowers growing in the cracks on the rocks. It's simple and effective, which is what I think this space required. I didn't think it needed lots of fancy flower beds or anything in here. And the big thing that I've done is put the hedge in. Now you'll notice that this hedge does not look like a normal hedge, and that's because it's not. So this is the sort of thing that I want to do more of in this zoo. So this hedge, it's pretty obvious what I've done. It is a topiary hedge, and all I've done is sink these flowers into it on all sides. These ones are just straight down the top, these ones are sunk in at the side, and that's the result. You end up with a flowery hedge, and I think it looks really cool. It's something that I want to do more of. I want to use in-game items in different ways, combining them to make something new. So this is now essentially a brand new item that I can do in the game. It's a nice flowering hedge, and I'm sure I could use some of the other flowers as well to make different variations of it, and I'm sure at some point in the zoo I will do that. And I think it looks really, really nice. Is it realistic? Possibly not. Is it, I don't know, is it actually based on something in real life? No, not specifically. Obviously you do get hedges that flower, but not quite in this way. Generally anything that you can trim into a hedge won't flower in a traditional way, but it may have berries on it. There's a plant called Pyrocanthus, which is a very popular plant here in the UK, and there are different varieties of that which have yellow, orange or red berries on at the right time of year in the autumn, so around now actually as I record this. So they would look like this, but they would be yellow, orange or red, and it would be berries instead of flowers, but it would be completely covered like it is here. But it doesn't really matter if it's not based on something in real life. I just like the look of it. So there we go, that is our new hedge work done. And then I've also just done these flower beds, continuing the same theme with these lovely pink plants filling the main gaps. And then a few of these, I forget what these are. Hang on, bear with me. Sea holly, that's the one. The real name of it has escaped me at the moment. I have some in my garden, so I really ought to remember the name, but I just can't at the moment. I'm having a mind blank. Never mind. But they look really nice, and I wanted them I wanted to add a bit of height into this border. I wanted them just poking their heads through the mesh work at the top here as well. And then I've just put a couple of these lovely spiky things in as well. I wanted something with a bit of height at this end in the thinner area here. But I couldn't put these in because they were a bit too big. They didn't really work there. And then it's mirrored on this side as well. Still need to do some more detailing around the windows here. And then these borders are very similar. I've used different plants though, so you've got this lovely white plant, and then I wanted to add a bit more height on this side, so I've gone with these lovely these are called goldenrod. I'm not sure what they're called in the game. Oh, they are goldenrod in the game. They have actually got a proper name. Goldenrod is their common name. There is a proper Latin name for them. It starts with an S, but yet again my mind has blanked and I can't actually remember what they are. Oh, hang on, Solgado. That rings a bell. Soldado? No, Solgado. Let's go with that. Oh dear. It's amazing. When you know, being a gardener, I work with plants like this all the time. And it seems to me that the more you work with something, the less you remember what it's called. Maybe that's just how my memory works. Oh dear. As long as you know what to do with it, that's the main thing. I always forget the Latin names. Not good with Latin. Remember the common name, and if you can't remember the common name, just remember how to look after it. You know, how does it grow? When does it grow? Do you need to cut it? How much water does it need? What sort of soil does it need? That sort of thing. That's what matters being a gardener. You don't need to memorise all the names, which is a good job because my memory is shocking. So yeah, I do what I can. I really like these little pink ones as well. I'm not actually sure what. Oh, I've clicked on completely the wrong thing there, haven't I? Why can't I highlight that? What are these ones? King Protea. Large. Okay. Yeah, I don't know that plant in real life, but I like it in the game, so it's good. Yeah. So there we are. So that's that is. I think this main entrance area just here is done. I think that's all I'm going to do out here. I don't want to put any more in because I don't want it to look too crowded, and I really like the look of it. So yeah, very happy with how that has turned out. So I just need to work out what I'm doing around these windows, and then a little something at the back here. Now what I'll be doing in this zoo, I won't be, obviously this, if you look at this building from this angle it looks very plain, but what I won't be doing is decorating this while building this building, if that makes sense, because until I know what I'm putting on the outside of the building here, there's no point making this look better. So it might be that there's another building here attached to it, in which case you can't see any of this anyway, or there might be a habitat attached to it, and then you need certain things on this wall. So yeah, don't expect every building to look finished in the video that it's built in, if you see what I mean, because it may well get finished off in another video. Oh yes, and inside I just put some of these wooden beams on the edges and in this pointed bit here where the roof comes down. It needed a little something inside here, just to break up this pattern on the wall. So I've gone with beams, and again they're just on this side as well, just on the corners. So yeah, just a little bit more detailing to go, and then we'll be done with our zoo entrance. I'm really liking the look of it so far. I think it looks pretty snazzy. So let me just go away once more and hopefully finish it off. Okay, here we go then. So I have now finished the entrance and I'm really happy with it. So as you walk under here, the first thing that I've done here that you'll notice is I have continued this archway one more segment into the building here. Originally it was just these end two and it ended on the edge of the building, but I just wanted to continue it in. It was the right width to cover this panel here, because this panel was all a bit plain and boring. So I decided to get it in because it just, I don't know, it just works. It just carries you through the building really nicely, and because it disappears into the wall, I then used this square piece underneath it to kind of make it look like it goes onto the wall and then down, rather than obviously as it does do, it disappears inside the building here. So that's yeah, that just finishes off this end panel here nicely. And I've also then done a smaller version of the tunnel at this end. So again, one panel inside the building and then one on the outside. I might do another one here, but probably not. I think it looks quite nice just having the one here and then having the flower beds sticking out of the end. I think that looks better. It kind of blends the building into whatever comes next. And again, it's that sort of height progression like I did with the trees over here. So you've got the height of the roof, then you've got the height of the tunnel, then the height of the flower beds, and then down to ground level. So it kind of draws the eye and it flows the shape of the building into the next area, which is whatever I do over here. And then I've just done some pretty basic detailing here on the ticket booths. So I had to be a bit creative because I found this texture here. So let me just highlight this. So this is a New World fence. So as you can see, it's a fence, obviously meant to go at the side of a pathway. But I used it as a, I don't know, kind of a, what would you call this? Like a, no, the word has escaped me. Honestly, my mind today has just melted completely. I can't remember any word. It's terrible, isn't it? A counter, that's the word I'm looking for. So I created a sort of a counter desktop here. So you've got one on the top and then one on the front, which I think looks pretty nice. I then used these other fence pieces with the holes in because I really liked the look of these with the holes. So those have just gone in on the top here and then down the sides, just to give it a sort of a modern feel. I thought it worked quite nicely with this. I think this looks quite modern, the wood here. And then I just had to put these pillars in on each side as well here, just to finish it off. That was just kind of covering some gaps down the side there. And I've done the same on this side over here as well. Not doing any more in here. That's all it needs. It doesn't need more detail. Obviously I couldn't continue the tunnel into the middle here because of the ticket booths being there, but I'm very happy with how this has turned out, and that is all I'm going to do. Like I said, I'm not going to decorate these bits of building yet because I don't know what's going to be on the outside of them. But as far as my entrance goes, that is it. So that's going to be it for this video as well. I hope you like it. I hope you'll stick with me for this this new zoo and all my new ideas. I've got a lot of inspiration for different types of buildings that I want to try and build, and obviously incorporate habitats within them, or incorporate them into habitats, I suppose is the right way of looking at it. And I'm looking forward to working with foliage more and using it more for things like this, with the hedges around pathways and archways and all sorts of things. I just want everything to sort of blend better together. It's very easy when you're building these zoos to just go, right, in this corner here I'm having a monkey habitat, then I'm going to do a penguin one here, and I'm going to do this one here and this one here, and you end up with a very defined sort of pattern of habitat after habitat after habitat. And what I want to try and do more is to try and blend things together a bit more, certainly with the buildings but also with foliage as well. Just trying to make everything feel like it flows from one area to the next a bit better, and link things together as well. I think the buildings and the foliage is a really good way of linking two different habitats together. So if you have one building stretching between several habitats, you're kind of linking them, you're blending them together, so they don't all feel quite so separate. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes, I guess. I mean, it's a good idea. Whether I can make it work or not, I don't know. But there we go. So that is our entrance to our new zoo, which is Lunar Zoo. So thank you very much for spending a bit of time with me today. I do really appreciate that you spend a bit of your spare time watching my videos. Hopefully you're enjoying them, and hopefully you can stick around and keep going with these. I'm having an awful lot of fun in all my different zoos, and no doubt it won't be too much longer before I come up with another idea for another new one. I seem to be getting all sorts of new inspirations recently, so I've got one or two other ideas that I might start, but for now I'm really inspired to do this one, so I'm going to be focusing quite a lot on this one over the next few weeks, certainly. But for now, that's going to be it. So this is episode 1 over, and episode 2 will be our first habitat, and I'm going to give you a spoiler because I know what it is that I'm going to be building, and it's going to be meerkats, because everyone loves meerkats. They're one of the new animals into the zoo, and I've already built a couple of meerkat habitats in my other zoos, and so they're going to be the first one into this zoo. So that is going to be my next episode. But for now, let's call it a day. So thank you very much for your company, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.